Show with Marcus Head. Once again, everybody, thanks for coming in to the Good Head Podcast Show. I'm your host, Marcus Head, and I have a fabulous treat for you today. I have an icon. Yeah, she is an icon because she's been in a lot of things. She don't like to be modest like that, but she's one of the only people I know that's worked twice with Tyler Perry and Oprah, know them on a first name basis. She's got a new special called Famous Enough. She's in one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, it's the craziest movie, but Ted 2. And we're just going to chop it up. We're going to talk all about how she got started, where she at, where she going. And we also did a project together. So without further ado, let me introduce you. And I'm proud to say my friend, my good friend, the fabulous, the funny, the wonderful Coco Brown.
Hey.
What's going on, baby?
Hi, baby. How are you?
Good. How you been?
Good. Busy, but a good busy.
I know all about that good busy. We know each other, so we're not even going to go into all that running around talking. We're here for the viewers and for people to hear your story and everything else. So without further ado, I don't even have to introduce you because everybody know who you are. If not, they'll nobody in. So let's go ahead and talk way back when you first started your journey. Let's talk about who was the first person that put the mic in your hand and what was that first experience like on stage?
The first person to ever put a stand-up comedy mic in my hand was Chris Paul and Pop Thomas. People know Chris Paul from the Tom Joyner Morning Show, him and Huggy Lowdown, and Pop Thomas is his manager. Many moons ago, I was at a barbecue, didn't know I was at the home of Chris Paul. I got invited by a friend to go to this barbecue. And by the end of the night, his manager was like, have you ever thought about doing stand-up? And I said, why? He goes, I've been watching you all night and you're just naturally funny. And I said, no, not really, And he said, you should. I have a comedy club. You should come down and do open mic. So coming from a theater background, I'm not afraid of the stage. So I was like, okay, I'll try anything once. And went down there. I called myself writing jokes. I had seen Def Jam and all that stuff. So I thought, oh, it's easy, right? And hopped on stage trying to tell my little jokes. And the audience was staring at me like I had two heads. And in the moment of probably just pure panic, I was like, you know what? Y'all ain't got to laugh at me because I don't really need this. I'm just doing this because, I got a real job, honey. I work for the circus. And the crowd started laughing. And I said, no, I work for Ringling Brothers. And they started laughing again. And I said, oh, y'all think I'm out here juggling monkeys? No, I'm the one to make sure y'all got tickets. That's what I do, And the audience is laughing. And so I had my little 4 minutes. I think it was like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I come off stage because they said, watch for the light. The light says, wrap it up. And that was my first time learning that. Came off stage and Pop introduced me to his boy who was, unbeknownst to me, the fabulous Fat Doctor, who was godfather of comedy of DC. If you ask any comic worth their salt that came up in the 90s, early 2000s, we've all been touched by Fat Doctor in some way, whether it was through his tutelage, his advice. Fat Doctor was just a very wise and gracious man. And I owe him a great deal of my career because he taught me the game. And that night he introduced me to Fat Doctor, and Fat Doctor said, you got it. You just need to know what to do with it. And I was like, what? And he was like, you just learned something that takes most comics years to learn. And I said, what's that? And he goes, you learned that what's real is what's funny. He said, when you started being real and you stopped trying to tell a joke and you were actually saying, what you were saying, that's what was making people laugh. He goes, it was the truth. He said, I would love to work with you. And he kind of gave me a little bit of his background. And he had worked with Martin Lawrence and Dave and Tommy Davidson and all these different comics that had gone on to do great things that, work with Doc. And he took me under his wing. And that man taught me the game. He not only taught me how to write a joke, he taught me how to sell a joke. He taught me the business of it. He taught me terms like, set up and punchline, callback, bait and switch. And me being a student of the arts, coming from a theater background, it was very fascinating to me that comedy had its own curriculum. Okay. And I wanted to learn everything. And he would take me with him to shows and he'd make me study him and make me tell him when did he do a switch, a bait and switch, when he did a callback. He would literally test me, like I was in school, but I wouldn't trade any of that. And one of the greatest things he ever taught me was the equation to comedy. And he said, it's simplification times exaggeration equals funny. And to this day, I write my bits with that equation in my mind, with that formula in my mind. And I've passed that formula on to a lot of comics that have asked me for advice. And they were like, wow, it made it so much easier for me to get my joke together, working with that formula. So that's pretty much the beginnings of Coca Brown. And how Coca Brown came to be, I was, not knowing, I was going on stage as Farrah Brown, which is my real name. And one day this comic named James Bean, that was real popular in DC, came up to me and he goes, you just have such a personality and an energy on stage. It's like you need a name that kind of like, no disrespect to your real name, but you need something. And I was like, I need a stage name, whatever. And a couple of weeks later, he came up to me at a club we were at and he handed me a napkin, and inside the napkin was the words Coca Brown. And that's how Coca Brown was born. I regret it now. I wish I had stayed with my real name because there's so many damn Cocos now. But I embrace it. It is what it is. And, now a lot of times I'll go under Farrah, Coca Brown, and stuff like that. So, just blend the two together.
That's an exciting journey. In addition to you getting your start, we also have a mutual friend of ours who actually gave you your first start on the road and kind of, I just had him on my podcast recently. Good brother. I'll let you introduce. Tell me about your brother.
The incomparable Kool Bubba Ice. Back in the day, DC was such a hot spot for stand-up comedy. There was 2 and 3 rooms a night you could hit between DC, Maryland, DC, Virginia, and Baltimore. Like you could work like crazy. And a lot of comics from up top, when I say up top, I'm talking about Boston, Connecticut, New York, Jersey, Philly, they would come down and work the circuit. That's how I ended up meeting like the New York Kings of Comedy. I met Talent and JB Smoove and Kool Bubba Ice and Freddie Ricks and Will Savants and, Jay the comedian and so many cats, that would come down there and work the circuit in DC. And Kool Bubba and I just connected. And Doc was actually the first person to take me on the road. But Doc had me doing mainstream rooms. Kool Bubba took me on the room and had me doing the urban room. So it gave me the ability to master both, to learn to master both, and not just be a one-note comedian.
Okay. So fast forward it, you got it, got your timing, got everything else. And I remember when I first met you, you told me, honey, I'm a theatrical actor first before I'm a comedian. And I know you do both of them very well. So tell us how the two coincide and what's the difference when you're preparing?
Well, I always say I was an actress first because I did my first play when I was 10 years old in the 5th grade. I was a lead of a play. And it was called The Judge and the Jury. It was a play that my 5th grade teacher, Miss Marshall, had written. And she believed in me first. She saw something in this little girl long before I think anybody did. And when she wrote this play, she put me as the lead. And I remember my grandmother made me this little judge's robe. And I wore my mama's Candy's heels. Honey, you couldn't tell me nothing. And I had all these lines. And I memorized them all. And that's something I think I've always had the ability to do because growing up, I did spelling bees. And when we would be at church, we would have these, like, they would call them the Bible bees, where they would have you have to memorize scriptures. And they'd have like this whole like kind of spelling bee kind of contest at church where you'd have to, so they'd give you a scripture and you'd have to say the scripture. And I would, so I was really good at having a great memory. But she saw something more in me. And then as I began to get older, I began to do a lot more plays, drama. Did it through, middle school, high school. I did musical theater. And then I went to college. And when I was deciding a major, I said, I'm going to do theater because it was another passion of mine. But my main goal in my mind, I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. I wanted to be one giving you the news at night, And so for me, stand-up is an extension of my acting because Coca Brown is a personality to me. People who have gotten to know me realize that person on stage and the person that's sitting behind this desk or the person that's raising my son or the person that's, hosting a gala for the great Rosa Parks are two very different people, but they intertwine in a way that they complement each other. So when I'm on stage, it's almost like I'm performing this 45-minute to an hour skit, but I'm giving you pieces of both Farrah Brown and Coca Brown.
I got you.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to say is a lot of people get to work with a lot of producers, directors, actors, actresses that are very well known, that are just moving the needle. But you actually had a chance to work with two of the biggest heavyweights in the game, and that's Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey. So tell me when you first got the call, for better or for worse, and then also lead into how you actually got the Single Moms Club.
I had noticed that Tyler was he was doing a spinoff of Why Did I Get Married, where it was going to be a television series based on the movie. I had just signed with a new agent, and I saw that they were looking for Jill Scott's character, which was Sheila. And I said, well, hell, that's me. I can do that, whatever. So I happened to be going to Atlanta to do Uptown Comedy Club. And my agents worked it out that I could do an in-person audition in Atlanta while I was there. And I ended up auditioning for it. And mind you, I'm auditioning for Sheila. I'm auditioning for this character. And the audition went extremely well. And then what was so odd to me is that after my audition, I'm here at Tyler Perry Studios. I'm trying to be like calm, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. And when I was done, the president of Tyler Perry Studios, the former president, Ozzie Aru, came downstairs to meet me and then gave me a tour of the studio after my audition. And I thought that was so like, do they do this with everybody? It was wild. 3.5 months went by. I had pretty much forgotten about it. And I remember I had just gotten out the shower and my phone had rang. And this is the wonderful world of when you can let your spouse answer your phone. Some of y'all can't do that, okay? But I could, and I can. So he had answered my phone because it rang, and he came running in the bathroom going, babe, babe, babe. And I said, what? He goes, there's Tyler Perry people on the phone. I'm like, what? So I answer the phone. It's Mr. Aru. It's Ozzie Aru. He's like, hey, Coke, it's Ozzie. I said, hey, how are you? He said, good. He said, I got somebody want to talk to you. And I said, okay. He clicks on Tyler Perry. And Tyler Perry's like, Coca Brown, this is Tyler Perry. I was like, oh, wow, hi, And he's like, you ready to come to work? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, I wanted you to know that you got the part. I said, wow, thank you. He said, but we've made some changes. And I was like, okay. And he went on to tell me that he had recreated the show to not be a spinoff with all the characters from the movie, but a spinoff of focusing on Marcus and Angela's characters. And that he had rewritten my part to be this character named Jennifer. And I was one of Angela's best friends. And so I was like, cool. So fast forward, not even 30 days later, I'm on a plane to Atlanta to shoot the first season. I'm just trying to take it all in. We're at table reads. I'm just staring at everybody at the table, Michael Jai White, Tasha Smith, I'm just taking it all in. Like, this is crazy. Like, how did I get here? And one day, after a table read, he pulled me aside and he was like, I want you to know that I handpicked you for this because I saw you in LA. And I said, huh? And he said, I saw you doing stand-up at the Laugh Factory. And I was like, I want to work with her. And so when I saw that you were auditioning for this part, I said, oh God, let her be able to act because I want her. And he goes, and you came in and you blew me away in your audition. He goes, and when I rewrote the character of Jennifer, I was thinking about what I saw you do on that stage. And I'm like, wow, and, it was a great ride. One of the first few episodes that we filmed, I know Tyler said to me, I trust you're funny. He goes, if you think something is funnier to say in a moment, don't you feel obligated to the script as per se? Give me what you do. I trust you. And I'm like, whoa, and throughout the course of those 6 seasons and 170 some episodes, there were so many opportunities that, Tyler let me play. He let me create. He let me make Jennifer what I wanted her to be. And I was grateful for that, because it allowed me to be creative on the spot and not just be so married to the words on the paper. Single Moms Club came. It was our second season. I was 8.5 months pregnant. I literally shot our second season 8 months pregnant. I had my child 1 week shy of us wrapping. I missed like the last 2 episodes because I went into labor that Thursday and I had my son that Friday. And we were supposed to film that Monday and Tuesday. And I really thought I was going to be back at work Monday. I was literally in the hospital in between labor pains trying to learn my lines. Like, and I'm texting Tyler, I'll be back Monday. He's like, well, you just had the baby. And so that was an experience. But when we were filming, he came up to me one day. We were on set, and he said, Coca, how long is it going to take you to heal from having that baby? And I said, huh? He said, how long is it going to take you to heal from having that baby? I said, well, they say, 6 to 8 weeks if everything goes right. He said, okay, I got something in mind for you. And he walked away. Lo and behold, I was shooting the Progressive commercial. My child at the time Phoenix was about 5 months old. I booked that Progressive commercial and I was in the middle of shooting that. And I got a call from my agent that they had called that Tyler had written this movie called Single Moms Club and he wanted me for one of the leads. And they wanted to send me the script. And the rest is history.
Oh, wow. So tell us about how you first met Oprah.
The first time I met Oprah was actually over a FaceTime call. We were all in Tyler's office one day having was it a table read or a meeting or something? And she called and he put her on FaceTime and turned the phone around. We were like, hi. But the first time I ever officially met her, like shook her hand, hugged her actually, we were doing a press junket for the new season of For Better or Worse. I believe this was season 3. And we were all in LA at the OWN offices. And we were all in the room, the whole cast, and she walked in. And, it was just one of those moments where you're just like, that's Oprah, And then her come up to me and say, Coca Brown. She said, girl, you make me laugh. And I'm like, you know my name. So, and she's such a sweet, gracious woman, I know when I went to the Essence Ladies Luncheon, the Essence Women's Luncheon they do every year, and I was sitting at the table, I was talking to like Kim Whitley and was a couple of my cast members and from the Have and Have Nots and different shows that were on OWN. We were there. We were all at the table talking. And somebody comes up behind me and wraps their arms around me and says, how's my Coca? And I look up and it's Oprah.
Wow.
It's like, I'm good. How are you? We took a picture together. So, and then I FaceTime my mom and my mom met her, and she's, so sweet, and then I've been in her presence a few times, that's a boss, you can feel it when she walks past you, honey. It's like, ooh, let me straighten up my shoulders right quick.
So let me ask you this. That's incredible. That's an incredible story. So you don't work with Tyler, you work with Oprah, you got Oprah hugging you, talking about you funny, Tyler Perry coming to see you. You like up here. I mean, that's like, you can't get no higher than that. So then, it's not going to be like that every day. So what was the adjustment period from going on all those and then going back to other shows that wasn't as big as those? How was that adjustment?
I can't say they weren't as big. For Better or Worse had not ended yet. We were in hiatus. And that is when I got the call to audition for Snowfall. Ended up going all the way to network. Me and Omar Dorsey actually screen test together, which is so crazy. And neither one of us got the roles on Snowfall, but we went on to do great things. He went on to do Queen Sugar. And I got American Crime Story, People versus OJ. And during that time, John Singleton, I had met him years ago when I did Bill Duke's acting boot camp. And he had seen me do Mo Better Mondays with D. Ray, because him and D. Ray were really good friends. And we ended up having lunch together, and we had gotten to be really cool. So when I got the call, they said, John asked for you for this role. Like, he wanted to see you in this capacity. It was Network that said they didn't think I looked old enough or something. It was some glitch that they felt that it didn't fit the character. It was played by, Damon Idris. But anyway, I was going out for his mother. When I didn't get that, John called me personally and told me I didn't get it. But he said, I have another project I'm working on. I think you're perfect for. He said, can you put yourself on tape right quick? I said, yeah. So it was for American Crime Story, People versus OJ. And it was for the character of Queen Bee, which was a juror that apparently, like, her and Johnny Cochran had this silent connection when she was on the jury, that he knew she had the power to sway the jury. And they had a lot of unspoken dialogue when it was all in the eyes when he would be giving his, arguments and everything. And so he said, Coco, you do so much with your eyes. You can act so much with your eyes. I love the expression, everything you can do. He goes, that's what I need for this character. So I put myself on tape. About an hour later, he called me and says, you got the part. So I ended up getting that from John. God bless him. Because, when we were speaking about, why did you look out for me like that? He told me, he said, I know you're more than funny. I want the world to see that. He said,
John Singleton.
And then from there is how I ended up meeting Ryan Murphy, who was the creator, of course, American Crime Story, American Horror Story. And then when he did 911, they said he specifically asked for Queen Bee to play this role of Carla Price. The writers and the producers told me, he was like, get me that girl that played Queen Bee.
What a blessing. John Singleton is the person that inspired me to want to be a director. And I did a workshop he had one time, my first and only time meeting him, and it was phenomenal. And just how prepared he was and the encouragement. And I'll never forget something he always talked about. And he told me, he said, believe in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, can't nobody take that away from you. And that stuck with me. And, unfortunately he passed, but.
Yeah, that hurt me to my heart because that man believed in me and he saw that there was more to me, that I just wasn't one note. He saw the layers, he saw the range, and he was opening doors for the world to see that. So
yes.
I owe him so much.
Well, speaking of projects and speaking of directors, I actually had the opportunity to direct you on a project we have coming out in 2023 called Live and in Color. And you were amazing as usual. And I really enjoyed you. So tell us about the project and tell us the character you played.
Oh, I had a ball with that. You had me playing the not so good 911 operator.
Right, the 111 operator.
That's not the person you want to call in an emergency because she doesn't care. And she's going to tell you the complete opposite of what you need. So, and you let me play with that. You just was throwing scenarios out at me and just letting me improv, which is something I love. When I can create on the spot, when I can use this noodle and just, go for broke. So you let me play. So that was a great experience.
Yeah, you were amazing. And we have a couple other things you're in. We're not going to give it away right now. And we also have some future projects we're going to have on the show with you being the president at the podium and you telling everybody exactly how you feel about world leaders and how you feel about the question.
That's some pretty good, shoes to fill, because when you think about some of the great comedians that have done a sketch or done something in reference to being the president. I mean, Richard Pryor, Dave Chappelle. I mean, like, I'm hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill it. You're gonna kill it. Also, switching gears, like I said, it's just so much. We could be here for hours.
Keep your eyes out for this brother right here. He's doing big things, and he's a good human being, which is very rare in this business.
Wow. Well, hey, I'm definitely going to make sure I promote this. But on a serious tip, Coco and I have an actual real personal friendship. We always call on each other. And when I was actually picking the cast, I actually called her and asked her about a couple of characters that I brought on. And, we talk at least once every other week. We talk and we're on the phone for like an hour, and I know you're busy, but one thing I like is you always take time when we talk to be so gracious and, considering who you are and what you do, and you have never changed. Because I did a show with you, I know you all remember, but I did a show with you at Uptown Comedy Corner like 20 years ago. And I wasn't opening up enough, but Uptown, they just had somebody pop in, I was in town. So, Nard put me up, rest in soul, Nard, and Nard was hosting that week. And, I was just sitting there and I was like, man, I didn't get a chance to meet you, but you were just hilarious and fun. And I was like, who is this? Because that was my first time seeing you. And I was just blown away. And, several years later, we developed a friendship and, I got to work with you. And like I said, I mean, everybody. And I can't think of anybody to say anything negative about you because you just even kill. So let's talk about a couple of things that you have coming up. Let's talk about your new special you have called Famous Enough. Tell us about that.
Famous Enough was the moment of death and rebirth. And when I say that, When I got the call that Comedy Dynamics wanted to produce my special, my next special, I was like, shoot, yeah, let's do it. Because you've seen the track record of comedy specials they've done. But I wanted this to be the death of material I have done to death and the rebirth of the voice I was finding in the midst of that. So that special is special to me because it's literally like you're watching me put dirt on one thing and plant a flower on top of it, if that makes sense. Because I was in such a transitional period. During that time, I had become a caregiver for both my parents. During that time, I was just being pulled in so many different directions, but it was also showing me the strength and fortitude that I had within myself. It made me realize how smart I really was because I was handling all of their legal affairs, all their medical affairs. I was still balancing motherhood and making sure that my child didn't feel like he was being left behind or in the cracks. I was still touring and acting actively. All of this was going on in my life and I was still smiling. I was okay. So it really made me realize it took my feelings of worth way up. Like it made me realize just how bad I was. You know what I mean? And so during that time, it was parts of me that had to die. It was like, that's not me anymore. That's not me anymore. For other parts of me to grow and flourish and be presented and be born. So that special to me was always, when I say famous enough, I say that because at that moment I realized had I been some uber super duper famous celebrity, my piece would have probably been a lot more in question. But during that time, I was famous enough that I was able to be a good daughter and a good mother and a good comic and a good actress and a good friend and a good sister.
Nice balance.
All at the same time. And that's because I was just famous enough. And so that's what that symbolized to me.
That's a good balance. Now, so many people saw so many things in you, like I have, because I've had the chance to direct you and I personally know you. The one thing that I see for the future of you is, like I said, you've done the comedy, you've done the acting, and you've done your thing. I see Coco Brown starting a production. I see Coco Brown having a platform, doing her Tyler Perry, Oprah, has directing, and actually has that occurred to you?
I have something on my bucket list that I'm going to keep to myself right now. I think I've shared it with you, but I'm going to keep it to myself
yes, you
right
have.
now. But I am in a transition right now. I've been bitten, something that I've realized it was something I never knew I wanted to do all along. And it is on the production side. And I have been blessed to have been handed an incredible project that I feel is going to be that stepping stone for me to achieve this goal. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised you see the name Farrah Coca Brown under executive producer very, very soon.
And I'm sure you will excel at that. So also I want to give you your flowers about an award that you were presented in 2018, the Moms Mabley Award.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I never got that award. But it was that, let me tell you, because what happened, the award show never happened. I had done the first annual one and I actually presented and I was on the board of that, of that group to make that, award show happen. But the second one, due to a lot of issues unbeknownst to me and out of my control, it never happened. So I never got that award. But the mere thought that I was awarded that award in theory because Moms Mabley's family handpicked me. They were given options of who they wanted to get this award. And it was told to me that they said Coca Brown. So I'll always hold that honor dear, even though I don't have a physical award to show. I know that I got
the acknowledgement.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Right. That's beautiful. And also, like I said, I can't go without saying the charity work you do, especially with lupus. Can you tell us about the Social Butterfly?
Yes. So I'm super excited because Wings of Love, which is my foundation, we are getting back up and running. We had to take a hiatus for a few years, but now we are coming back full throttle. I actually had a meeting this morning with my people. Wings of Love is a foundation that's dedicated to helping, aiding, lending a shoulder, being there for women and men who are battling lupus. It began because of my girlfriend who lost her battle to cancer many, many years ago. And it became Wigs of Love because I was having friends of mine donate their wigs, and we were donating these to women who had lost their hair. And we had an event back in 2018 that was monumental. We flew in 5 women that had been selected by their family members. We had a contest who came into Atlanta. We put them up and we gave them pretty much a Hollywood makeover, and we gave them a Hollywood photo shoot. And we gifted them wigs that were provided by Kim Kimball. If you know Kim Kimball, she does Beyonce hair, need I say. And it was a great event. We had Kelly Price perform, Dave Tolliver from Men at Large, Lisa Lopez's sister, I don't know why I can't remember her name, Rainbow. And then we also had Stevie Baggs Jr., who's now on the new show with B. Simone on Bounce, and Ebony Steele, who used to be on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. They were my host. It was an amazing event. We presented these women. We had a brunch. It was awesome. We are bringing that back. We're also bringing back. We couldn't get it together in time for this year, but next year we're bringing back the Thanksgiving family giveaway to a family with someone that has lupus. We're going to provide them everything they need for their great Thanksgiving dinner, and then we're also going to have our Christmas drive where we're going to find a family, that someone has been affected by lupus, and we're going to make sure that they have a wonderful Christmas. We're going to be doing a lot of events coming up in 2023. I'm super excited that we're bringing it back. I'm able to focus on it more now. Sometimes you're a nonprofit, you have to revamp your board, and that's what I had to do. And so, Wigs of Love, lupus is very near and dear to me. My favorite aunt G that I grew up with, and she was somebody I idolized. She was so fly. She was just everything. And she, was diagnosed with lupus when I was 14. And by the time I was 19, she had passed. It hit her hard. And to watch this woman whose every hair was in place, her makeup was flawless, her clothes were and to see her turn into this frail woman who had lost her hair and lost things that, I used to admire, and to see how she fought so hard to the very end. And so lupus has always been very near and dear to me. And then when I ended up meeting my friend Char, who is the head of the Social Butterflies Lupus Foundation in Newport News, Virginia, I partnered with them and became their national ambassador to help them raise money and raise awareness to lupus. And in the midst of all of that, the Cocoa Brown collection, which is my body cream, CBD infused body cream, body oil, body scrub company, we created this cream called Minty Toes that I made for my feet. And this was because I wear heels a lot. And this cream was getting a lot of, great recognition because of that. But a lot of women with lupus and fibromyalgia began to use it, and it became huge. Like the lupus, I provide Social Butterflies with, Minty Toes for their, members. And I make sure that everyone sold 10% of that sale goes to a lupus foundation. And it's mostly Social Butterflies, making sure that, women, we can find a cure for lupus, but it also, knowing that I'm helping them with the pain and the discomfort during that time. So it's a near and dear thing to me. Yeah. And so I'm really excited that we're bringing it back full throttle in 2023. And if you'd like to be involved, please go to my Instagram page, Wigs of Love, WIGOFLOVE. Make sure you follow that page. Right now it's being updated, but go ahead and follow it. Also, you can hit me up personally if you'd like to donate or, be a part of it, and just go to wigsoflove.org.
That's amazing, my sister. That's a blessing, and you will definitely be blessed, and you have been blessed for that. So that's amazing. So the last thing I want to ask you is your son. I know you and your son have an amazing relationship. So tell me about your son, and tell me about the relationship that you have if you've been the mom and then you being the famous mom.
I always say that God knew I needed something to live for, and he gave me my son. He is an amazing little boy. I know every parent, but he's just how he has adjusted to my crazy life, how he's been so understanding and patient.
Give him a shout out on his name. Got to say his name.
Phoenix, baby. Phoenix Zion, baby. Come on now. rising from the ashes to glory. That's my baby, because they told me I was going to have difficulty getting pregnant. They told me I had this condition in my uterus and I was going to have it. And I went in to have a procedure to fix it and I was pregnant with him. So I always say, that's my miracle baby. That's my baby, And so he has just been my greatest inspiration, my greatest motivation. He gives me something to live for, wake up for every day. I love being a mama. I wanted 4 kids. I wanted a big family, but God had other plans. But I'm so grateful. Like, he's such a great kid. Like, he doesn't give me any major issues, outside of the normal, won't clean his room, won't bathe. I don't know what it is with boys. I don't know why y'all don't want to wash your arse.
My 10-year-old, yep.
What is it that y'all don't want to wash your booties? I just don't get it. But he is like my greatest motivation, man. And he's amazing. He's so good in math and science. He actually has a collection on the Cocoa Brown collection called the Phoenix Edition, which are kid-friendly, all-natural, hypoallergenic body scrubs that foam up and become soap for kids.
And what is he, 16?
My child is 10.
10. Oh my God. 10 years old. Okay. So now I got a 10-year-old son. Now when my son come home from school, he finna go ahead and start reading some more books. He finna come up with something.
Got him an eBay page because he's selling his Pokemon cards. Like, he's a hustler. He's like his mama, honey. He's a hustler.
One thing that I have to mention is because my son is an actor, and my son he's going to be one of them next big actors that's coming up in the generation. And he had a chance to work with you on a segment about Mommy in the Shower. And you guys just played off so well, just improvised. And he talks about you when he'd be like, we was watching something not too long ago, and he's like, I work with her. That's
all right, baby. Go and use that claim to fame. If somebody question your gangster, tell your daddy FaceTime me.
So before we get out of here, Cole, and I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. We're here with the funny, hilarious Cocoa Brown. I like to do a segment we call Get to Know the Guest. And I want to ask you some questions.
Okay.
And some of these questions tells a lot about a person. So my first question is, what is your favorite cereal?
Ooh, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You old school with it, aren't you? I know it's hard, but what is just some of the best comedy places that you perform that you just, every time you go there, you enjoy it?
Baltimore Comedy Factory, hands down. I feel like Jesus in that club.
Who is this? And this is going to blow your mind. You've worked with a lot of people. You've done a lot of things. Who is the actor or comedian that you have not worked with you would like to?
Oh, wow. Gosh. I live for the day I get to work with the great Viola Davis. I want to be ready, though. I've been in her presence, and I can't bring myself to meet her yet because I feel like I'm not worthy. And I mean, who would not want to work with the great Denzel?
No.
No,
of course.
I've always thought it would be a blast to work with Tracee Ellis Ross. I feel like she and I are like some kind of secret kindred spirit.
She should do stand-up comedy. She would be hilarious.
Seriously, I just love her energy. I love her energy. So I said she's definitely on my bucket list. Jennifer Lewis, Loretta Devine. I mean, we worked together. Me and Loretta, we were on P-Valley together, but we had no scenes together. But I absolutely adore those two women. They're like my idols. Like when it comes to being a comedic actress and embracing my age, and knowing that, there's no such thing as I'm going to stop working because I got a few laugh lines, So those are some of the ones I really look forward to working with.
Okay. And what projects do you have coming up?
Oh, God. Okay.
That you can tell us about.
Oh, okay. So I have a movie coming out on Peacock that I'm in with Chloe from Chloe and Haley that's produced by Will Packer called Praise This. I do believe that's coming out next year. I also have a show that I'm on called Big Door Prize that's coming out to Apple TV next year as well. Right now you can catch up on I think it's all 4 seasons, or is it 5? No, 5 seasons of Never Have I Ever on Netflix. I played Principal Grubbs on that. Of course, 911 on Fox. I'm still actively on that. So you guys can check. I just had an episode air a couple of weeks ago. I got one coming up. Is a new comedy special that I'm on called Joker's Wild.
I remember that show.
Yeah, let me see. Gosh, it's so much. Wait a minute.
Shout out to your team for always making sure you working, you busy,
I've
and
been
got the
working, girl.
continuity,
Oh, yeah, I
man.
mean, I'm blessed. 2022 was an incredible year. Like literally, I could barely do stand up because of every TV and film project back to back to back. You guys can check me out on a new movie. It's a new movie, Christmas movie out right now called Christmas Party Crashers on BET Plus. Let me see. I have a movie that my first movie I ever executive produced. It's on Tubi right now called Family Thanksgiving. You can check that out.
That's enough, girl. We'll be tired and exhausted. Anybody got
My podcast, The Coca Brown Show Trust Issues, is coming back in January. It's going to be on all platforms, iHeart, Spotify, Anchor, you name it. So make sure you download The Coca Brown Show. It's coming back and it's going to be called Trust Issues, honey. We're going to talk about some grown folk stuff.
Girl, like I said, I know I'm busy. But when I talk to you, I'm like, damn, I need to get some more stuff to do.
I mean, it's crazy because when I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, Jesus. But when you love what you do, it don't feel like work.
And speaking of love, my sister, I love you deeply. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for doing this. Y'all, the fabulous, the funny, the hilarious Coca Brown.